What's up guys, Retro Gaming Guy here. So today in this video, we're going to unbox, demo, and review the latest release from MinisForum. This right here is part of the Venus series mini PC, and this is the NAB9. So this has some amazing specs, which we're going to get to momentarily. In this video, we're going to unbox this. We'll take a look at the layout and design of the mini PC, and then we'll of course fire it up, dive into a bunch of different games and game collections on here to test out the performance gaming on here. So let's dive into those specs. Now this mini PC right here uses the Intel Core i9 12,900 HK processor. That's 14 cores, 20 threads, and speeds of up to 5 gigahertz. We've got 32 gigabytes of RAM. We've got a 1 terabyte M2 SSD installed within, running Windows 11. We have Intel Iris Xe graphics on here, which I recently became acquainted with, and I'm really a big fan of as well. Now, this has some really amazing features on here as well. First and foremost, we have cinematic quad-core 4K display. So this has 2 USB-C ports as well as 2 HDMI ports for quad display multitasking solutions. Now this mini PC also features a new airway design that completely solves the problem of heat accumulation in the memory hard disk. So it's just a more efficient heat dissipation solution. So right out of the gate, this mini PC seems to have a lot going for it, but we've got to take a closer look. So let's dive into it. All right, so we've got our manual right here on the top. Let's thumb through that really quickly. So it walks through the package contents here. Looks like we typically get our mounting bracket, as well as power supply, power cord, HDMI cable, user manual, and of course the mini PC. Walks through all the different port offerings here, and it comes in a bunch of different languages. So pretty basic layout in there. Let's take out the mini PC. We'll set that aside momentarily. Let's see what else is included in here first. So we do have our accessories compartment down here, power supply cable, HDMI cable, and then we've got the other end of our power supply cable right there. We've got our SATA connection. So I believe this is going to be one of those situations where we open this up and we can go ahead and install this to connect over an additional SSD, which is always good for gamers. I actually use that a lot on my end. I always like to use Batocera preferably. So bringing in an additional SSD with Batocera that I can boot into if I choose to is a great option. And then we have our mounting bracket. So this is a very well put together mounting bracket. Lots of options here. So you can set this up on the backside of a monitor, inside of an Arcade 1-Up cabinet. If you chose to use this PC to mod an Arcade 1-Up cabinet or a regular cabinet, you can mount this on the side of a desk. Just tons of options there. So let's go ahead and actually take a look now at the mini PC itself. All right, so here is our mini PC. Go ahead and open this up. Trying to do it gracefully here, but there we go. All right, so we can dive right into this. I like that. Interesting that this just kind of sits on top like that. Let me see. Open the top cover by pressing with your hands. Okay. Oh, so it does kind of latch down in place, but it was already disengaged right out of the box. So all you have to do to open this up is just simply push down on the 2 front corners and you can lift that panel right out. That's really a unique design. I've never seen that before. Obviously, you could disengage this by accident though, and that happened obviously in the box there, but very easy, and you could just hit both at the same time to pop that open and again access everything internally. And since we have just easy access to this, we can see right here at the top where we would actually go in and install that SATA connection. So let me go ahead and grab that. I already tucked it away, but here we go. We've got that right here. So if you wanted to go ahead and install this, and say you wanted to bring in another SSD into the mix, let me see if I can get this dang thing open. There we go. So say you wanted to come in here and bring a 512 gigabyte SSD into the mix with Batocera on it for gaming purposes. Inside here, we already have our M2 SSD running Windows 11, but we can go ahead and simply install this very easily. All you're going to have to do is just simply slide this down here into place and press it in there. There you go. connects that over. And on the back side here, you'll notice that we have a slot for an SSD to get installed. So you put your SSD right here. There's screw holes on 3 of the sides, so you could secure it in place. You don't even need to use all 3. Usually I'll just put one on each diagonal, lock that SSD in place. It'll sit right here. You have your SATA connection right here, and you simply go ahead and push this right back down. In fact, I have a SSD on hand. Let me show you guys real quick. So here we go. I've got this FICWatt 1 terabyte SSD ready to go. So all I'd have to do is just make my connection right up here to the cable that we just added in. And now I'd just go up here now and simply install this into the top cover. Now we have some screws provided here. I'd go ahead and secure just 2 or 3 screws in place, and this would simply flip over just like so. We just line up those back feet in the back here, just like that. And we would just press that down in the front to lock it in place. So I'm going to disengage that since I didn't secure that in place. You can see it just flopped over, but 2 or 3 screws, you're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and take this out because I don't need it currently. There we go. Just want to be careful removing that. And you could just leave this in place in here. It really isn't going to do any damage. I'm going to go ahead and just remove it just for, this video right here. In fact, I'll probably reinstall it and bring Bottasera into the mix to test out some games, but I do want to fire up Windows 11 and go that route first. So let's take a look at the design of this mini PC now. It is all metal, very well made. The top panel is plastic, but everything else on here is all metal. I like the silver sheen to this. It's got a glossy sheen everywhere. It looks really sharp. So let's go through the different port options on here. So right here in the front, we have our USB-C port. This is going to be our data only port back here. So we're not going to use this for display or anything like that. That's purely going to be data, but it's certainly great to have access to that right here in the front panel. We have 2 USB 3 ports. We have our headphone jack and our power button. Both sides, excellent airflow here. So I can definitely see that cooling was something that they, definitely wanted to tackle with this. USB 3 ports over here, 2 of those on the side. We have an HDMI port right above a USB Type-C port. This one is a display port for USB-C. So that is another option for bringing this up to an additional display. We have another HDMI port over here, another USB-C port. This is going to be our universal USB-C port. So we can use that for a little bit of everything, but we can use it to certainly bring another display into the mix as well. So that between the 2 HDMIs and the 2 USB-Cs on the back, that gives us 4 different display options back here. Ethernet ports right here in the middle, and then over here we have our power supply cable connection. So really like the layout and design of this. I can tell that cooling was something that they definitely cared a lot about. They also have lots of display options on here. So if you're using this for gaming, I don't think you're going to necessarily need to bring 4 displays into the mix, but you do have the option to use that, for a lot of different things. And I could see streaming being a big hit with this mini PC because it does have all of those display options on here. So love the layout and design, and I just think that this is an exceptional design up here at the top to easily access everything internally here. If you ever need to make adjustments or you want to bring new things into the mix, it's just so easy to access. And of course, the fact that we can, as gamers, bring in additional SSD here, whether you want to store ROMs on here or you want to bring in your own separate setup that you boot into, I just think this is a home run so far. So really hope we're going to get exceptional performance out of it as well. So I can give this a thumbs up. I think we're going to based on those specs, but only one way to find out. We got to fire this up, test out some games. So let's go ahead and do that.
Battle 2, fight!
No escape! No escape!
Copy that, Hunter 2-1.
All right, guys, we jumped in here. We checked out the NAB9 Mini PC from MinisForum, and I have to say, I looked at the specs here just to kind of gauge before I jumped in here what the experience was going to be like. This far exceeded my expectations. Now, typically, my reservation with something like this would be the fact that we're using an Intel processor. I'm not crazy about Intel. If I had the option to choose Intel over AMD, I would never do it. I would always go the AMD route here, and it's still the case in this experience, but this Intel processor is top of the line. It's one of the best ones offered by Intel, and it's not new by any means. It's been around for a couple of years, but it is, again, exceptional, and you can see that in the gameplay experiences here. It packs a punch. It delivers just really smooth gaming experience here on all ends. So before we dive into the performance side of things, let's talk about the layout and design of this mini PC. First off, it's very well made. It's all metal except for the top, which is plastic, but it's, good quality plastic, and I love the top of this. I love the lid. I love how effortless it is to open everything up and access everything internally. Here, it's just really well thought out. I think it's a forward-thinking design, and it's not just forward-thinking in how they designed the lid, but everything that goes into this. They've rethought out the cooling on here. The cooling is exceptional. That's not to say that this is going to be chilly and not warm at all after you're gaming on here. I spent about 3.5 hours gaming, most of which was spent, I'd say 3/4 of it was spent on AAA titles. It still gets warm. It's not boiling or anything like that. It's not concerning, but it still gets warm. So I do want to clarify that they really did an exceptional job keeping this cool, but it's still going to warm up if you're putting it to the ultimate test. And AAA titles obviously are going to be about as high end as you go here on a mini PC. So it sailed through everything. We'll talk more about the performance momentarily, but I do want to make mention that it's still going to warm up, but it's going to stay, at a range of temperature that is safe. It's not going to overheat or cause any problems, nothing of that nature. So in addition to obviously the way that this is constructed, yes, I love the lid here. I love how you can easily access everything inside. I also love the backside of the lid where you can secure an SSD. And for me, I love Batocera. I've been talking about that for years here. I love Retrobat, I love Launchbox through Windows as well, but I love Batocera because it's an entirely separate setup. So I can have a Batocera drive that I boot straight into that's Linux-based, or I can go Windows route with Retrobat, Playknight, Launchbox, and there's some other ones out there that you can use too. But I love the fact that we can keep them separate. And with something like this, I can have my Windows 11 setup, obviously internally installed, but now I can take a Batocera setup. I can internally install that as well, and then just adjust my boot order to decide whether I boot into Batocera or Windows 11, whether I'm going online to, edit my videos or do anything over there, or I'm going into Launchbox or Retrobat or Playknight. I have that option. It keeps everything tidy and installed within. It keeps everything safe as well, because I don't know how many times I've had, external SD cards or flash drives or SSDs that are just kind of hanging loose, and they do get damaged. They do get wear and tear on them. The cable connections get wear and tear on them just hanging out. So to have everything installed internally is just a really efficient way of going about this. And I think we're going to see a lot more mini PCs designed with this in mind, where you have easy access to everything internally versus having to, thumb through all these, tiny little screws and have this tedious process to opening everything up. It's just so much easier to just hit those two little points on the top, open everything up, do what you got to do, pop it shut, and dive right into your mini PC. It saves so much time, so many headaches. So really commend them on that. And I will say this, I'm a big fan of MinisForum. I've reviewed, countless mini PCs by them. They're always putting out new products. They're always thinking of new ways to be innovative and to improve. We don't always see that with brands like this. We see a lot of brands that do put out a lot of products, but they're usually very closely aligned with each other. They don't have major advancements from model to model. MinisForum is always taking several steps forward, always trying to think of ways to further improve what they're doing. And I think that we're seeing that right here with the NAB9. Now let's talk about performance now. So we jumped into retro game emulation. I didn't spend as much time over there as I typically do with mini PCs because it was apparent to me right off of the bat that it's going to sail through everything that I throw at it, and it did. Now, I did check out PS3. PS3 is not in the demo reel here just because I had an issue with my capture card when actually filming those games, but you can see from everything else here that we jumped into beyond that on the AAA title side. You're going to have a phenomenal experience with PS3 emulation on here. There's no shortcomings at all with anything on the emulation side other than just the restrictions of the emulators themselves. Not every PS3 game is going to work, perfectly on here. That's not because of the mini PC. That's because of the emulator that's being used here. It's just not 100%. Same thing with like original Xbox. Not everything is going to work. There's still limitations with the actual emulators. Now let's talk about AAA titles here because that's where I really spent the majority of my time. I spent about probably 75% of my time testing things out on the AAA side, which is using Windows 11, and I went in through Play Night today, versus emulation. Just because it is more demanding, we're going to be able to really push things a lot further over there. And this handled everything very well. Now, are there titles out there that it's probably going to have some issues with? Probably. I didn't find them though. I had a great experience with everything that I jumped into. I tried to test it out as much as I could. The higher end stuff, the racing games, the beat 'em up style games where there's a lot going on. Tekken 7, is a great one to test out. And it sailed through everything without issues. There's no lags or delays. There's no audio issues. Nothing, was askew graphically. It just really is a rock star mini PC. Now, I think that this is most comparable to actually what I have deemed the best mini PC, and it's this one right here. And of course, it happens to be from MinisForum as well. This is the Elite Mini UM780 XTX mini PC over here. This uses AMD, I'm going to double check that. Yeah, the AMD Ryzen 7 7840HS processor, as well as AMD Radeon 780M graphics on here. This is a tier above what was offered here on the NAB9, but it's really not a huge difference in all honesty. Yes, if you look at the specs here, these are better, but you're going to pay about $120, give or take, more than what you're going to pay over here on the NAB9. And for the majority of us, I think the NAB9 is more than enough. For me personally, it is. Emulation is what I'm most into. I love retro gaming. Clearly, I'm the retro gaming guy. So I would spend the majority of my time on the retro side here, more so than I would on AAA titles. And the NAB9 100% has my back there. There's no shortcomings. There's no issues there. So at the end of the day, would I spend, $750 is the retail price of this? You can get different promos and stuff at different times. Right now, currently, you're going to be close to about $600 with this guy over here, the UM780 XTX. With the NAB9, you're going to be closer to about $500. I think it's a little over $500 currently. So you're saving $100 to $125, give or take. For me, I think it's worth saving the $125 at the end of the day. It has exactly what I need. It is an Intel processor, which isn't as good as AMD in my opinion, but it still gets me through everything that I need over here on the retro side. And then, of course, AAA titles, the options are vast. There's really no issues that I've experienced. So at the end of the day, I think it just depends on what you're looking for. Are you an AMD person, an Intel person? How far are you looking to push things? I think that it's a great option. I think that the NAB9 is definitely a more budget-friendly option. But the layout and design, it speaks volumes. It speaks for itself with how it's put together. Everything, at the end of the day, you're comparing two different products from the same company. So you're in good hands no matter what route you take. But this is a major contender here for mini PCs, especially for those like myself that want to use them directly for gaming on here and all types of gaming, not just retro gaming. AAA titles obviously perform extremely well. So the layout and design, though, is a major selling point. The fact that you can bring 4 displays into the mix here, I think that's a major selling point for the right people. For me, again, it's not something I'm really looking for, but certainly is an amazing feature. So this product here, I love it. Let me know what you guys think, though, of the NAB9 here from MinisForum. That's going to do it for today, though. Hopefully, I showed you guys everything, that you can use to gauge what is the best option for you personally if you are out there looking for a mini PC. But hit me up in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think today. Let me know what you guys thought of the video. If you enjoy the content, please give me a thumbs up on the video. It's a huge help to me here on YouTube as I try to further grow this channel. And if you enjoyed the content and want to see more, please hit the subscribe button and you'll get notified for all future videos that I do. I do a lot of mini PC reviews, much like this one right here. Thank you guys so much for your time. Thanks for the support on here. I appreciate it so much. I will see you guys on the next video.